Bula, I'm Wame. Join me every weekday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on The Center Show with classic hits from the 70s as well as the 80s right here on Gold FM.
Tonight, Education Minister assures that the new school fee system is in the best interest of Fiji. Public sector union still claims that civil service pay is below par. And Tourism Fiji to put its $23 million to best use. Good evening and welcome to FBC News. I'm Amrit Priyadarshini. Now, one person has been admitted in hospital after the floor of a building in Nadi collapsed. 9 out of the 20 people who were on the deck were taken to the hospital and doctors were rushed over from Lautoka. Vasita Kotewasawasa reports.
There were scenes of chaos at Maikana restaurant in Nadi when this crowded decking collapsed and people fell about 15 feet.
The fact that the actual horse just collapsed and then the 9 people fell 15 feet. That's a serious safety concern which investigators will be looking at all aspects.
The Maikana in Matinta restaurant opened only 2 weeks ago. The Nadi Chamber of Commerce was hosting a post-Diwali event and also celebrating Dr. Ram Raju's 60th birthday. Restaurant owner Nazrul Ali said in a statement that it was an unfortunate incident but didn't say anything about safety compliance. It has also been revealed that they don't have a liquor license but were serving drinks last night.
We'll have to ensure that the building was fit, or the watch that was where the party was being held was safe enough to hold such a large number of people.
Building owner Suresh Patel told FBC News he can't say much because he hasn't visited the site. What's more concerning is that the Nadi Chamber continued with the party after the injured had been taken to hospital. The restaurant wasn't evacuated after the collapse.
That's also an area that we'll have to look into. If that in fact did take place, then we will definitely be looking as to what other steps were taken afterwards, because obviously that would have been a serious safety concern for the rest of the people who stayed behind. But those are some of the things that we'll have to look into.
Relevant authorities are now investigating. Vasita Kotewasawasa, FBC News.
The Education Ministry says parents must take the education of their children seriously now that the government is footing most of the costs. Minister Philippe Mbole says now is the time for parents to make their children's dreams come true. Here's Mika Longa.
It may sound too good to be true, but Education Minister Philippe Mbole has reassured parents and guardians about the free education initiative from 2014.
There are no fees to be charged by anybody, by any school. Whatever description, there are no fees to be charged.
Bole says the amounts the government will be paying for school fees and other levies for cadet, library, stationery, computer, building and other common levies were calculated up to the maximum limit.
In the secondary, it will come out like this: 440 per student instead of 290 that the government currently pays now. For Form 5 and 6, government will pay 485 per student instead of 320 which government pays now. And Form 7 will attract $610 per student instead of $370 which government pays per student now.
It's a noble thing, and at least all the children will be able to access education, which is very vital for any developing country, to have its people educated so that the country can have an efficient workforce for its progress.
I fully support the initiative. It's proof of the hard work this government is doing.
I'm very happy for it because it's been very hard supporting my children to attend school.
Bole is warning schools against diverting the free school grant to other activities like school picnics, quiz and construction of new building blocks, which will need the prior approval of the ministry.
There are absolutely no fees to be paid. So any extra fees, that the schools may wish to charge, and those are normally related to buildings, the permission has to be obtained from the Permanent Secretary for Education.
Well, for a picnic or a quiz?
Yes, otherwise they put the grant to them in jeopardy.
The Education Minister says with about 90% of a family's education expenditure will be paid for by government in 2014, parents must not sit back and relax.
I think the best advice I can give to the parents is to ensure that they have the uniforms. Be serious about your students, about sending your children to school.
The bus fare assistance for school children has also been increased to $20.8 million to benefit 78,000 eligible students. Mikolonga, FBC News.
One of the major public sector unions has welcomed the pay rise for civil servants. While the Fiji Public Service Association is pleased with the increment, it claims some of its members will still live below the poverty line. Ritika Pratap reports.
More than $92 million will be spent on pay increases for civil servants.
We are happy that a bigger percentage of rise have been given to our lower paid members. Those members who were on $10,292 per annum received 23% pay increase, which translates into $2,367. And their salary now per annum rises to $12,659.
Those earning less than $15,400 will receive a 23% pay rise. Civil servants in the $15,400 to $20,600 bracket will get 18% more. Those civil servants earning between $20,600 and $26,700 will receive a pay rise of 12%. The other bracket is for those earning between $26,700 and $34,200, a pay rise of 10%. Rajeshwar Singh is still adamant that the increases don't match those given to permanent secretaries. Singh also proposes a job evaluation exercise for the public service.
It should take into account the changes that have taken place over the past 7 years in the public service and how people's job has been affected.
The Public Service Commission Permanent Secretary says public servants haven't been ignored.
It's not that increases have not been given in the previous budgets under this government. There have been progressive adjustments given, but this in a way is a major adjustment, and it will bring the salary of many civil servants in par with what is paid out there in the private sector.
Principal level officers earning between $34,200 and $46,200 will get an 8% increase, and those at the director and deputy secretary level will get raises ranging from 7% to 4%. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
The Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Trade and the Fiji Revenue Customs Authority will form the task force monitoring the prices of goods affected by a reduction of fiscal duty. FRCA CEO Chitoko Tikoilevu says they will soon be meeting to set up the task force.
We got the data, we got the document entries of exporting and import. There's no issue, even for the last 2 or 3 years. We just need, the company can be importing the same thing over and over again over the last couple of months and years.
Tikoilevu says the task force will also be looking into the retail costs of price-controlled items. Fiji's largest foreign exchange earner, the tourism sector, has been given the same allocation as in previous years. Those working to promote the industry say it's big money for a country like Fiji, but internationally it has to be spent wisely. Ritika Pratap reports.
Tourism Fiji stakeholders believe every dollar allocated to the industry must be spent responsibly as Fiji faces stiff competition.
When you take it outside of Fiji, the $23.5 million relative to what is spent from other countries who are trying to attract visitors from the same markets that we are entering is really small.
Fiji's tourism industry over the past few years has grown rapidly, with visitor arrivals reaching as high as 700,000. The consistency of budget allocation has allowed Tourism Fiji to keep up with its ambitious market campaign.
With a real keen eye on the return that we get for every dollar we spend, we need to be very aware of what it is that we expect to get back.
The industry has also welcomed tax reforms that will benefit smaller hotels when paying hotel and liquor licensing fees.
We need to use the funds more cleverly, so to speak, and I think we will see that happening with the restructure, the rebranding in place. And I was also impressed with what the Prime Minister announced in terms of the revised fees and charges,
Tourism Fiji has recently launched a new campaign, Fiji, where happiness finds you. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
Coming up, Labour Ministry to continue minimum wage survey next year.
How would you like to spend your morning? You could spend your morning like this. Or you could spend it like this.
Tune in to the Morning Ride every weekday morning from 9 a.m. till 12 p.m. right here on Today FM, Today's Hit Music.
Nisambulo binaka oya wone kamanalangi oni nandorungo diao mai na diwa kina rua na bisinga mai na moniti kina bagarumbuka na Radio Fiji wana ndomai biti bongani bianyano na makatalengana benga ona sasi biani na tinna kaloka na bembongi ni bukilulu kena bima mani walu na bembongi ni bakarowai mai na mbuza ni balu ninge namaka.
Welcome back. You're with FBC News. The government is committed to promoting legal access to the less fortunate. $4.4 million has been allocated to legal aid to allow for better representation of the unfortunate. Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama has stated that $5 million has been allocated for the upgrade of the Lautoka High Court complex and chambers. $500,000 has been set aside for the construction of a new courthouse in Nasinu, and $2 million is set aside for the upgrade of court sound systems.
We have allocated $300,000 to hold court sittings in some of the outer islands, such as Rutuma, in Koro, in Rambe and the Lau Group. We will also spend $800,000, an increase of $400,000 over last year to improve court services in rural areas and small towns.
Attorney General Ayaz Sayed Qayyum says this allocation ensures that we have a sure and equitable justice system.
We need to ensure that we do have court sittings on a regular basis in rural areas, because people who live in rural areas have an equal right to have access to justice, have an equal right to ensure that their matters before the court are dealt with in a timely manner.
Labour Minister Choneo Samate says the survey on the minimum wage rate will continue after the announcement of the 2014 budget yesterday. 18 inspectors will be hired to carry out this work around Fiji. Usamate says they will ensure that employees are paid just wages and salaries.
It will allow us to ensure that the most marginalized workers, those who are paid the least, are not exploited, and at the same time, it will help us to ensure that there's a level playing field between the different companies that employ people who need to be paid the national minimum wage.
Usamate adds that they are aware of some companies underpaying employees, and with the introduction of inspectors, he expects employers to play a fair game. National Fire Authority CEO John O'Connor is excited at the prospect of the government funding 2 new fire stations in Korolevu and Korovo at a cost of $2.5 million. An additional $1 million will go to 264 new fire hydrants around Fiji.
I think that's important that they provided us the funding. Now we have to go back and make sure that the project is implemented.
Is there going to be an increase in service delivery as well?
Yeah, all the stations will be providing ambulance and fire system.
The government will also pay for significant upgrades in the civil aviation sector. $3 million has been allocated to the Civil Aviation Authority, and the government is providing $1.26 million to subsidize domestic air services to remote locations. Airports Fiji Limited Chairman Faiz Khan says the allocations will help improve facilities.
The outer island and Nassori airports are loss-making entities for us as part of our social responsibilities. So it's good to hear that amount. We'll be interested to know how that amount will be allocated.
Partial shares in Airport Fiji Limited will also be put up for sale in the coming weeks. The government has embarked on a joint venture with the private sector to restructure and upgrade government's IT infrastructure to cut costs and improve reliability, efficiency and security. In 2014, the ITC department will be provisioned with a budget of $20.1 million to cater for the upgrade of all government ministries and departments' IT systems.
In the coming year, we will continue work on the revolutionary online portal called eServices Fiji, through which Fijians, visitors and investors will be able to access a whole host of government services from wherever they have a connection to the internet.
Still to come in sports, Fijiana gears up for Coral Coast Sevens ahead of IRB Sevens debut. And new Mr. Fiji crowned in bodybuilding competition.
Bola, oya wasala belawa. Do pata kia o mena diwa kina tini karona kaloko na single boni moniti kina vagaromboka. Kako ni valata na no musini sari na kaisa moriando loloma leone vani ni nau om gori ke de mena diwa kina tini karona kaloko na single boni moniti kina vagaromboka en Bula FM number 2 en sere.
जहाँ हो प्यार का बसेरा और रिश्तों की खुशबू, वो है आपका अपना घर संसार. Join me on Ghar Sansar, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. till 12 p.m. only on Radio Fiji 2.
Welcome to FPC Sports. Vodafone Fiji Mbati will face England tomorrow morning at 3:30 in their last Rugby League World Cup pool encounter. Both coaches have named their best for this game, knowing its importance. Final pool standings will also decide opposition in the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, Aquila Wate's try against Ireland, where he carried 4 tacklers across the line, has been voted in as one of the top tries of the Rugby League World Cup. Wate is hoping to score more tries tomorrow morning. The Flying Fijians are gearing to face Portugal tomorrow morning in their first test on the Europe Tour. Coach Inoke Male has named only 3 local players in his starting lineup. He hopes to turn around last year's ill-fated tour where Fiji was only able to register 1 win. Akapusingera will lead his men onto the field at 4 a.m. Fijiana, the Fiji women's rugby team hit the paddock today to test themselves before the Bailey's Coral Coast Sevens. It was a warm-up match against the Striders at Lawanga Park, Singatoka prior to the Dubai Sevens. Shelvin Chand has more.
The players are serious about their first ever IRB 7 series. The extended squad will have to prove their worth for selection into the final team after next weekend in Singatoka.
I want to see the girls how they play. Because some of the girls are playing in the Fijian team and some of them are playing in the other clubs. But the team will announce after the Coral Coast.
The coach wants more girls to take up rugby so that selectors have a wider selection base.
Put it all the girls around in Fiji to compete, that we can choose the best team in Fiji to go and play like this in IRB. It's the first time for us to play in IRB.
The core of the team have been put into the rugby academy. This might help the girls improve a notch.
Academy is good. I think they're going to go through academy, they learn a lot of skills. That's a likeness of us, the skills. We just want to go over that, but the ABC of rugby is the skills. At least we're going to go for that. We'll maintain what we want.
The 12-member team for Dubai will be named after the Coral Coast Sevens, where players from other clubs will also be able to impress the management. Shalvin Chan, FBC Sports.
Lewe Tasim Biliwanga took the Mr. Fiji title in the Bucks Classic Championship bodybuilding this afternoon at the Fiji Arts Club Playhouse. Biliwanga, back from his stint in Tonga where he won bronze, dethroned Voniriti Randua to take the tag. Inoke Lingairi came in second after winning the 85 kg category. Organizers say they were overwhelmed with the number of competitors that showed up. They say this shows that the interest in the sport has grown. Meanwhile, 17-year-old Haifa Vakaloloma won the Miss Fiji title. The Suva High School student says to take Fiji to the world stage.
Well, I want to represent Fiji in the world stage, not just the South Pacific, but the world stage. And I want to take Fiji to the top. And I'm going to work really, really hard to achieve my aim, and yeah, just represent Fiji.
Fiji Taekwondo's first Ambassador Cup Championship today assembled young from all over Fiji. This is the first competition for the sport after the national team returned from the Pacific Mini Games in Wallis and Futuna. Shalvin Chand reports.
The numbers today was a promising sign for Taekwondo Fiji. The organization helps that they are able to hold more competition.
This is the first Korean Ambassadors Cup, and this is wholly been sponsored by the Korean Embassy, and we look forward to a bigger competition next year with some Pacific Island competitors coming in as well.
Fiji only managed 2 bronze medals from the mini games. Taekwondo Fiji believes that the exposure has helped the athletes.
They didn't do as well as expected, but I can see the difference in this competition right now, and hopefully they can impart their knowledge to others as well.
In addition, there are plans for regional meet involving 2 or more nations in preparation for the Pacific Games in 2015.
In fact, Kiribati is waiting for us to host another competition, and we will be inviting other nations as well.
How positive is that?
It's looking very good. In fact, we've got a local championship lined up next year, February. Following that, we'll pick the cream, and then we'll host another one. We'll have the other regions coming in as well.
With more children at competition level, Taekwondo Fiji is also trying to organize a special school holiday program. Shalvin Chand, FBC Sports.
Fiji Table Tennis Association is hoping to have more of their young players attend world events. Teenager Youngjun Park just returned from the World Cadet Table Tennis Championship in Slovenia. The association believes this will be good for future regional meets.
Like other sports, table tennis is hoping to breed world-class players by sending more players abroad for competition.
Hope to send more young players to such events, and playing at a world stage is completely on a new level, and our players gain a lot of experience.
Table tennis firmly believes that you are only as good as the competition you play.
The event is very fast-paced, unlike the way we play here, and I believe he has learned how to adjust to his movements, leg positions, his strokes.
As for the young player, he hopes to use his newfound skills in the next major competition.
A lot of pressure representing the region, and did my best but couldn't achieve what I wanted, and gain a lot of experience, and I hope to do well in Fiji Open 2013.
Fiji Table Tennis Association is now working on securing sponsors for the Fiji Open scheduled for next month. Shalvin Chan, FBC Sports.
Some showers was experienced over the southern parts of Fiji and the interior and eastern parts of the larger islands. Elsewhere, afternoon or evening showers prevailed. Another warm day around Fiji, 33 degrees in Lautoka was the highest. Tomorrow's forecast is for fine conditions in the Western Division in the morning, turning to showers and thunderstorms over most places. For Monday, occasional showers over Vanuatu, Taveuni, Northern Lao Group and the eastern and interior parts of the other larger islands. Elsewhere, afternoon or evening showers. Isolated afternoon thunderstorms are expected. Recapping the headlines, 9 people were hurt and 1 is still admitted in hospital after a floor collapsed at a restaurant in Nadi last night. Education Minister Philip Mbole says parents now have no reason to not send their children to school since the government is footing the major costs. And Public Sector Union says some of its members will still be below the poverty line despite the pay rise announced in yesterday's budget. And time for this week's poll question. Should there be a complete ban on fireworks? Visit our FBC website to answer. Remember to send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj. That's all for tonight. I'll be back again tomorrow evening. Until then, good night.
आपकी शादी होने वाली है, 5 बच्चे होंगे। 5 हाय, मैं हूँ आपकी सहेली वेणु। सुनते रहिए मिर्च FM, मैं हूँ ना 9 से 12 बजे तक।